Welcome to episode 15 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. My guest at this time is, and I'm very proud and excited to have her on because, I've been such a huge fan since the 90s, watching her on Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. She is the main villain on Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. And later on in the show, I will talk about like her accolades and why she was criminally underrated, pun intended. And my guest at this time is Miss Amy Trakina Roll. Amy, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Petey. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. And
Okay.
I'm in full gear too, so I'm on Team Trakina tonight.
Sure. I love it. Thank you so much for the support.
And it says for president, you know what? She's got my vote. Well, I want to start before I get into the Lost Galaxy questions, Amy. I do want to ask about this could be a cliche question, and that is, how did you get started in acting?
Okay, well, it's a little bit of a non-traditional path for me. I actually was a model full-time, and I lived in Miami and had some life changes. Things happened, and I didn't want to live down there anymore. I had a couple friends in LA. One was a model who had always wanted to become an actress. And another one was just a friend that I grew up with at home in Kentucky since elementary school. They both lived in LA, and I would go visit them occasionally. I was on the West Coast, so I decided to visit for a little while. I ended up staying I ended up moving there, but it was kind of a trial period for maybe 3 or 4 months. I started, the one girl was pursuing acting, but she actually wasn't really making money yet. So she was still modeling. And she asked me one day to hang out with her. So she said, I just have one appointment I got to go on. It's a modeling casting for like a catalog job. Just go on it with me, and then we'll have the rest of the day together. So I went on the casting with her, and then at the end, they wanted to see me too. And I was like, oh, I'm just here visiting my friend or whatever. They're like, but you're a model, right? And I was like, well, yeah, but I don't have any of my stuff with me, my book, I don't have it. They were like, it's okay, just come back and try the clothes on. So I did, and I ended up booking the job. Now the job, let's say that was on July 1st, the job wasn't until like July 15th. So I had to stay an extra couple of weeks in town just to do the job. And the job was like maybe 3 days, I think. So she introduced me to her agent, and then he started booking me on things consistently. These are all modeling jobs. Anyway, I started working all the time as a model in LA, and I was frustrated because I was working all the time, but I wasn't making as much money as I made before in Miami. So the same friend in the meantime, so like a year has passed, about approximately a year, and I'm filing my taxes or whatever. And that's when I kind of realized, like, I put in a lot of work and not really I'm not really seeing the result I want with the money. So she says, in the meantime, she had started working as an A-list actress. She has a huge agent. And she said, you got to stop modeling. You got to start doing TV stuff out here. It just pays more money. And LA is really geared toward film and television. And I was like, I just don't have that thing that you have, like you've always wanted to do it. I haven't. And she's like, do commercials. It's kind of like an in-between. So I was like, all right. And she goes, I'll introduce you to my agent. So I went and met her new A-list agent, and I started working in commercials. And once you start doing that, they're all interconnected. So commercials, sometimes you have big movie directors that will, direct a commercial, or sometimes you have, it's just everybody knows everybody, or even if they're not directing it, it's the person who you're shooting with for the commercial typically works with, the Coen brothers or somebody like that. And so introductions happen, and it's easy to, I think it would be difficult to say, I'm only doing commercials, I'm never doing anything else. So doing commercials led to doing some TV auditioning, to doing some movie auditioning. And by the next year, that's all I did. So it wasn't a traditional path for me. It was really just to make money. I was just trying to follow the path that would that was the most lucrative for me at that time in LA. So that's when I started doing it, and that's how I ended up after a few years of doing that on Power Rangers.
Very cool. And I want to ask too, take me to the day of audition when you auditioned for Lost Galaxy. Talk about it.
Okay, so the day I had already got my sides, and it was about maybe my fifth or sixth audition of the day. I was prepared for the audition, but if you're familiar with LA is it takes a long time to get even within town from one side to the other. And this audition for Power Rangers was up on the sound stages in Valencia. So the sound stages, it takes a good hour driving up the 405 or the 5, whatever. I can't, you got to go like on 2 freeways or more. And it's up by Magic Mountain. So I almost didn't go because I was tired from the day. I'd been all over the city, and I was kind of like, you know what? I don't even know about this one. It's kind of weird. Not sure how you pronounce the character's name that I'm auditioning for. And I was just a little like, I was hesitant. I almost didn't go. And then for whatever reason, I did. And, just threw caution to the wind, said, okay, just, I'm going to knock it out. I'm going to go. I'm going to give it my best shot. So I went up and did the audition. And I really did think that I did a bad job on the first audition. And I was mad at myself for wasting 2 hours of my life for driving up there or more because the wait and then the audition. And there were several other girls there that day to audition for Trakina. But I was mad because it was so far away. And so by the time I got back home or whatever, it was like, I don't know, 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. And I was just like over it. I was over the auditioning process. So I was actually kind of surprised when I got a call a few days later that they wanted to see me again. But then I was more confident that maybe I was on the right track with what I had done, But yeah, it almost didn't happen for me.
Wow. And before I get into some of the episodes, because of Lost Galaxy, I do want to mention like how underrated not only Lost Galaxy is, because I truly love the theme song for Lost Galaxy, where the first, it's basically, it is the best because it goes Power Rangers Galaxy.
Yeah. I know it sounds like very biased because it was my season, but I do think I've heard other Power Rangers intros, and none of them can compare to Lost Galaxy. So it's not nostalgia for me. It's truly, I don't know, like in the whole intro, the way they did the intro looked like a movie. It was really such a cool intro.
It was, and it was a great way to hype like people up, but like, oh, let me get you pumped up to watch the show. Like, we'll tell you why this show was great, and the music is definitely one of the reasons why the show was underrated.
And I've heard a lot of good stuff. I mean, I know when I'm at conventions or when I'm talking to fans or whatever, the ones that want to talk to me specifically, they already like Lost Galaxy. It's like not like, oh, that's my least favorite season, let me go talk to Amy, or let me go talk to Trakina, I hate her. But they come because they like. But I hear a lot that Lost Galaxy is people's, how many seasons are we at now? 25, 26 seasons of Power Rangers, and they'll always consistently say top 3 for them. So it's not just me that thinks it's a really good season, but I get that consensus from a lot of people.
Very true. And I do want to say, like, before we talk about like the episodes of Trakina, like some of your favorite memories on working with Power Rangers, I do want to say some interesting stats about Trakina, why she's very underrated. And, not only, was she the first ever, evil leader of the post-Zordon era, but she was the first female evil leader of the post Zordon era. She took down two Megazords. What evil villain could say they took down two Megazords? And the only villain, the first villain, take that back, the first ever villain to have three different stages of evil, how evil this woman is. I mean, she's probably one of the most evilest villains in Power Rangers of all time. And unlike the other villains that turned good and quote unquote became soft, Trakina was bad to the bone to the day she was obliterated.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you know what? A lot of that stuff I wouldn't even know if you didn't tell me, because I don't watch all the shows, and so I don't have like I don't know all the post Zordon era stats like you do, but I'm glad to know all that, and I'm glad you told me, and I appreciate how much you know pay attention to the details of the character. So and a lot of it, we've talked about some of this before, so I don't know if you want to talk about it today, but a lot of the stuff that happened with Trakina, it sort of unfolded on the fly for the character's storyline. So again, probably just things that you can't predict. Things are some things you cannot predict, and they're meant to be. So it's like, for me, I thought it was just going to be sort of a part-time, because I was a recurring character originally, and my dad, Scorpius, was going to be the main villain on the show, and he ended up being kind of a hassle. He was a puppet, so nobody's insulted when I say that. And he was an awesome animatronic puppet, probably pretty advanced for the time, but it took a lot of guys, a lot of manpower to work him and make him look real and make him look animated. And it took a lot of people, because he was very heavy, to move to different locations. So if he was in the Scorpion Stinger and he was just resting on his little throne, great. But it still took like 8 guys to operate his legs and eyes and lungs and all that stuff. So, and mouth. So it took a lot of manpower, but they got tired of it pretty quickly. And that was my lucky moment, because I just showed up one day and they're like, guess what? We're killing him and you're taking over. I was like, oh, okay. So I had no idea that that was actually going to happen when I auditioned.
And I loved, like, the episodes are great. Like, I mean, I loved the Eye of the Beholder. That was one of my favorite episodes. I think or was it Beauty in the Eye of the Beholder?
Soul and Beauty. Is that
Soul and Beauty?
Soul
Yes.
And Beauty. Everybody loves
it. And I love, because it also showed that Trakina is not only an evil, evil mastermind, but she's also a master of disguise by Tracy Turner.
Yes. See, I didn't even realize my last name was Turner in that episode, or Tracy. So you pay attention to these details that I've either forgotten or skipped over to begin with. So this is good for good review.
And the cool part is that there's a lot of facts about Trakina that just makes her, like, people like her and like underrated. Like, did you know that we've had husband and wife evil couples in Lord Zed and Rita, but this is the first time we had a father-daughter type of relationship as evil leaders.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you are, like, I mean, Trakina, Amy, Trakina, you are very underrated as as one of the most underrated Power Ranger evil criminal geniuses of all time. And when I say 3 stages, you went from being like standard evil, person that wants world domination, to someone that's psychotic viciousness when you fused with Deviant, and then you just became the entire package when you had your 3rd form in that ant form, but this time you actually impervious to pain.
Yeah. So my favorite form is the mutated, leveled up form of Trakina with Deviant, because you and I have talked about this in exchange with messages and stuff, but even though he was a despicable character, kind of a weasel with how he was not loyal, even to Scorpius, and then of course not to me, but he did have the coolest costume. So the fact that they picked him for me to accidentally merge with in the cocoon was actually very cool to me, and I got some of the cool elements of his costume. I was pleased with that.
That's awesome, man. And when you did fuse with Deviant, like you were still still evil, but you had Deviant's maniacal mind, which made you even more dangerous. Like you went from being like, you know what, I just wanted to destroy certain people to just someone that was totally on wanted mindless destruction.
Yep.
And that episode Journey End showed it too. Like when Chiquita wanted to blow up a ship that had like hundreds and hundreds of innocent civilians.
I
But then
know.
and this is the part where people like respect so much Villamax because he's like one of those rare breeds where like he's an honorable villain. Like you respect
Yeah.
him because he keeps his word.
He had
And
morals. Even though he was a loyal bad guy, he had morals, kind of bad guy morals.
and he
So
saved you, and he saved you on that saloon. Like
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, he was a great character. Love that character, but I'm glad I didn't fuse with his costume though, because it wasn't as cool. Even though I really liked his character, I didn't like his costume as much.
and it was Villamax though that actually turned Trakina from an evil empress that wants to rule the world to basically a cold-blooded fighting warrior. Like that scene when it was like a Rocky like inspirational scene when he's training you and you're like, oh, I broke a nail, and then he's like, oh, you have 9 more. I broke another one. There's 8, 8 left.
That was a really fun. It was hard. It was actually genuinely difficult to shoot. But it was actually fun too. And they did such a great job editing it and making it look like inspirational and Rocky like that. I mean, I don't know, that could have even been inspiration. I'm not sure for the way the whole episode kind of flowed. But definitely he poured gas on the fire by making me a better warrior or whatever.
I see. And I did like, in that episode, I definitely liked the part where he goes, "What took you so long?" And you're like, "I wanted to show off."
Yeah. Yeah, I had to get revenge on those other guys in there that were always the regulars at the bar. And
Oh, I got. I mean, as a kid, I think we talked about this before. Like, there was no evil villain on Power Rangers that really struck fear in me when I would watch. I mean, Trakina, and that's why Trakina is definitely underrated, like in that aspect. Because let's just put it this way: you scared the holy hell out of me when I was watching you on TV. That I actually jumped 9 feet away from the TV because it was such intimidation.
do you think it was because I'm curious because a lot of the monsters you don't see their face. So do you think that's why? Because I was like a person, or because some of those are kind of creepy looking. Those ones where you can't see the face at all, like the ones that come on different every episode. Or do you think it was because it was more like, oh, she's real?
I think it's an element of both, like because she's real, and like this is actually like one of the few times. I mean, with the exception of Astronema, Divatox, and Rita Repulsive, that and also I think what it done it too, like when you fused with Deviant and you had those eyes that were like very like
Yeah,
horribly induced.
definitely. Though, okay, and so those contacts, actually, it's funny that had the storyline been different, it wouldn't have worked out so great because my character was supposed to be becoming more and more unhinged, as the weeks went by. But I was actually becoming more and more unhinged in real life because those contacts were killing me. And I was only supposed to wear them, I was told, for 4 hours at a time because they're like they had a center that was clear that that goes right over your whatever where you focus, but then around it was like all the bloodshot yellow and red color design of the contact. So I was I've never worn contacts before that, and when I got to set, they told me actually at the doctor's office where they made them that, oh yeah, we work with them all the time up at Saban, and their makeup department knows how to put them in and out. And I was like, oh, okay, because I don't know how. And they said, yeah, no worries, that's part of their job. And when I got there the next day when they were made and I was going to start wearing them that day, the makeup lady, or she comes to me and she hands them to me and she goes, okay, here you go. And I was like, okay, I thought you were going to be the one to take them in and out. And she's like, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, oh, they told me that you did. So there was a little miscommunication there, but the bottom line is I could put them in, but then at the beginning of the day, you're talking like 4:30 a.m., all makeup is done. And my hands had, those ridiculously long molded nails on them. And then the makeup was airbrushed onto my hands. And it was black, but it had like the colors of like a bug shell, the blue and kind of purple and green colors sprayed afterwards. So there was a lot of kind of detail work, even on my hands. And so I couldn't wash my hands in between and like take the contacts, and you can't change contacts without clean hands. So I ended up just leaving the contacts in for the whole shooting day every day, which was about 14, 15 hours, much longer than they're supposed to be in. And the problem was I would get a headache every day because it's like on your phone or a camera. If you're pushing the button down initially to take a photo, but it's out of focus, you can actually see your screen, trying to focus on the subject. And it's like my brain was doing that, but I had this kind of like distracting stuff in my peripheral, which was the design of the contact. So it's like my brain was always trying to focus, and it literally just gave me like a migraine that lasted about 6 weeks. And I would be so relieved at the end of the night when I could take them out, but my head would still hurt. And then the next day, go to sleep, wake up, come back, and then it's time to put them in again. So literally, I was kind of going crazy because of those contacts. They look great they serve their purpose for making me become more and more irritable and more sort of just short and unhinged in real life. So, I mean, it was all I could do not to, you know what I mean, just cry all the time, because it was genuinely painful, but it worked out good for the character. So in the end, I have to give them credit for the contacts. So.
And I do want to mention like in that episode though, like, and I've always wondered this as a kid though. When you went to the saloon and you took the drink from the guy and you drank it, what exactly was that drink?
I think it was just water with like food coloring. I think I don't remember it being like, wasn't it green or something?
Yeah, it was like greenish yellow.
Right. So it's probably, I mean, most of the time, like those things are just like food coloring. It might have been like some yellow drink initially that they made more intense with food coloring. I do remember the glass itself, because remember I crushed it when I went back. That was made out of sugar. The actual glass is made out of sugar.
So it was like, oh, well, it's sugar glass.
Yeah, so it looks like glass, but it's really sugar, so it's fragile. No, it didn't hurt. Okay. No, it just kind of turns to dust or whatever. Nothing like sharp, like real glass.
Oh, I see. And before I talk about evil games, I just want to say that I loved Heir to the Throne only because there's two things I liked about it. Like, character development is, definitely cool. And it made people actually have sympathy for Trakina, because that whole scene with the father, I was actually getting upset watching that. Like,
tell me when Kegler tells me my dad's. Is that what you...
Yeah, like when the Red Ranger, and that's when you became hell bent on destroying Leo.
Yeah, and it gave me motivation, I guess you could say. So, yeah, I mean, it was a big episode for Trakina, like literally in every way, and it's my personal favorite. So
I love that one too, because I love the training scene you did with Villa Max. I mean, it was such a cool, like, to see like this Rocky style like training thing, and he's giving you tough love, like, and then I liked when you basically schooled him, like it was basically like the teacher has just been taught type thing.
Oh, you mean when I got the rope, or what? It's like a chain or something on his leg, and then I showed him like I'm learning. I'm actually learning something out here. Yeah.
There was that one. I loved Evil Game too, because you were so like, one thing about Trakina is always cool too is that she always has great lines. Like I loved like when you did the force field battle with Leo, which was a very tense one, and I'm going to ask you that one. but you had, like sayings like, you reached the end of your story. Like you had all these great lines. Like it was so cool. Like, and um, I wanted to just go like get your opinion and like your thoughts on that whole battle scene you did with Leo in the force field.
Okay. Well, I remember shooting that really well. Um, what were you thinking? What were you wondering about?
I just want to know like the choreography of like when you two battled.
It's definitely choreography, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who shot that or like who directed that episode. But the directors are always so great. I don't remember if it was Koichi or I don't remember if it was. Um, I'm trying to remember the guy who did the stunts. He was like the head of the stunts, but he also would do um, directing sometimes. And they have like a very clear picture of how they want the choreography to go. And so um, they're very precise about how they want you to do and how they're going to shoot it. They already know. So you just have to learn it's choreography. You just have to learn that. I do think I had a stunt double for a little bit of that. Uh, some of those things in that scene, and I can't remember why. I'm trying to remember. Um, I remember being very cold that day, and every time I had to go, every time it was time to go, basically into that area to start filming, I'd have to take this giant, like, in football when like the Packers and cold teams are playing, and the guys have those big oversized coats on the sideline while they're waiting to go back in while they're not on the field. We have those too on set. And so the people that are not actually shooting, you can wear those in between um, shooting. And I had one of those on, and I remember just dreading taking it off every single time to go shoot because it was probably like in the 30s because we were out in the desert.
Yes.
And like morning and then evening, it gets hot in the middle of the day, but the other times it's very cold. So yeah, it was a cool, and they they always make everything they make everything like where for the most part where even though I'm a bad guy, I look good. You know what I mean? They make me look my character always comes out really good. So it was fun. It's hard to sometimes tell how it's going to come out in the end when you're just on the set trusting them that day. But now that in hindsight, I can see how I remember how I remember like rehearsing that scene before we shot it or this or that and not really understanding maybe the way. One thing that comes to mind, like another example of that is, do you remember in Green Courage?
Another great one.
There's one, it's a quick back and forth and it has a fisheye lens.
Yes, I remember that.
Completely different than the rest of anything. And he was explaining, the director, that was Koichi, he was explaining it to me, and I kind of didn't get, what his vision was. I was like, okay. And then there's another scene in that, I don't know where it is before or after, where I think, or maybe it's in a different scene. It's where the robot arm that I got from Deviot.
Yes, I remember that one.
Like leading the camera. I don't know. And so like I remember particularly those shots being set up and I kind of was like, where are we going with this? Like I don't get it. But now that I've seen the episode, of course it makes perfect sense. But at the time it seemed like, oh, this is weird. It's hard sometimes to trust what they're building, what they're working toward, because you just don't know exactly how they're going to put it all together. So yeah, sometimes even out in the desert or wherever, it's hard to stay like, okay, I'm not sure where we're going with this, but I'm just going to trust you. And it always works out for the best. But
I also like in this episode again, like the way you deliver your line is so natural, so charismatic. Like when I loved when the Leo, like the torture / interrogation scene when he's all chained up and you said when
when he's hanging up, I have him like in ropes thing. Is that what it is? And then
and I think you created a volcanic fissure like on the floor.
yes, yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
I loved how you delivered the line when you destroyed Scorpius. You created something very powerful. Me. I like it.
Yeah, I wish I can't take credit for all that stuff. There's no freestyling. They totally, one.
It definitely solidified the fact that Shakina just made being the bad guy look very cool.
Yeah, I mean, they have, like I'm telling you, like they have really good writers and really just a really good team. I don't know if they still do now, like when they're making the new episodes, but at that time, I can confidently say, I mean, I think they had just really good people, and that's why the storylines were good. That's why it was kind of a complex. Everybody had, the cool thing for me is like I didn't work with all of the Rangers at the same time. Like I would just work with one for a week, and then I'd work with another one maybe the next week or maybe 2 weeks later. And each time I would have an episode with one of them, it was a little bit deeper into their storyline. They need me there to cause problems, but you're seeing, Maya or whoever, Mike or somebody else's story unfold a little bit more or get a little bit deeper in their storyline. So it's just 1 week at a time. So it's kind of cool how they did that with every, not just one of them, but all of them. And me. Yeah. So kind of.
You mentioned Green Courage. I love that episode. But like, if you were to name me my top two, it would be Green Courage and Heir to the Throne, because there's so much there's so much not Deviant. That shows the cowardly side of Deviant and more of a backstory for Shakina.
Yeah, those are in my top two as well. I think Green Courage, and I don't know. I mean, there's a couple others. Like I might not even remember the name of the episode, but yeah, I just have particular. Like scenes and things where I remember, maybe it's not the entire episode, but those were very cohesive, and I liked from beginning to end on both of those. And so on Stolen Beauty, I like that one a lot too.
Me too. You steal the beauty of every woman in Terra Venture.
Yeah, it's silly, but it's cool, and also how. I don't know, just how funny is it that for kids, I mean, I know older adults like the show. How funny is it that they would let Shakina be that devious to poison or attempt to poison Mike while he's eating? I mean, it's just so sinister. It's very cutthroat. I can't believe some of the stuff they put in there for my character. It's crazy.
And another great Shakina episode I like, because it was a way it just shows how clever and manipulative she could be. Like, is the episode Memories of Miranoi, where I believe her name is Riken, which is the shapeshifter that was one of Shakina's monsters, got to fool to pretend to be Maya's best friend. I remember this episode because Carol Hoyt, who played Divatok #1, voiced the monster version of Riken.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I actually remember that, and I remember that girl. I remember the actual actress that played Maya's friend. I remember everything else about that episode, but I got to do what you did one time and rewatch some old episodes. Probably won't do it all in one day like you did, but yeah, it's been such a long time that, and whenever somebody I know wants to watch, we always watch the same ones. So it's not like new ones or like reviewing all of the season or whatever. But yeah, I do remember that episode, and it was a good one.
I love the Journey's End Part 2 also, because this is really where you get to see that, Shakina went from being an evil, and by the way, before I mention that, I just want to say that you did get something, I mean, very cool out of Scorpius Dash. You got that really cool, staff.
Oh, yeah. That, which was like his arm or whatever, right? That morphed into that cool staff, which, by the way, don't know if it's obvious in the episode, was extremely heavy. So the outer coating was made with some type of like foam, you know, that they could make the design, like the bug design and stuff. But inside that thing, and it was taller than me. I mean, it was like, you know, over 6 feet tall. It was a like a metal pole or something. It was very heavy. But then they always, when they're choreographing scenes, they always wanted me to like flip it around, you know, like a ninja or something. And I'm like, dude, this thing weighs like 10 pounds or more. It's not something you can just, or it probably weighs more than that. I have no idea, but it was very heavy and not something that you could just, you know, twirl around like a baton. But that's what they always wanted. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool. And I've actually seen it. Some guy had it at a convention.
I saw the video of that.
He had the real one. Yeah. So, because it had a crack in the glass, so I know it was the real one. Or that whatever that, you know, the part on the tip, like up on the top, there was like a glass dome, like a ball or something that had
a spider in it. Right?
Yeah, and it had a crack in it from probably being dropped or something, and it really had that crack in it. So I know it was the actual one from that we used.
And I did like part 2 of Journey's End because it just shows you like, and this is like where at this point Shakina went from being a villain, like just a standard villain, to just someone not only hell bent on destroying the Rangers, but came totally completely unhinged. Where like there was a scene like I mentioned before where Villamax, this is where you destroyed him because he didn't want to follow orders from you for not blowing up that ship. And then you asked me like one reason, like another reason why I found Shakina intimidating. The way she would demand orders just comes off very intimidating. Like when she kept telling Villamax to destroy the ship, and then when he refused to do it because of the flower the little girl gave him in the episode, and this shows you that Shakina is just purely evil, and he was trying to get the flower, and you just stepped on it, just showed no mercy.
It was really mean. It was really mean of me. But yeah, I'm telling you, that's another example of the cutthroat stuff that they wrote for the character. I mean, it was like literally like when I was like made him disappear or whatever, destroyed him. It's like, am I really going to do this after this guy's like helped me out all this, you know, last, I don't know, half of the season or whatever. He's been my companion and my trainer, my cohort, all this. And then but that's kind of what makes being a villain fun, because it's not what you would actually do yourself. It's not the choices. It's the opposite almost of what we're taught as human beings to do, to help somebody, to, you know, whatever, do the right thing. And as the villain, you don't ever have to do the right thing. You can just be selfish and everything is about, you know, you don't care about other people. So it's kind of cool, just for, you know, even though it's shocking, but it's kind of fun to make the opposite choice just for that scene or whatever. So that's one of the fun things about being a villain, because you can't do that in real life. So you get to just be totally off the wall and different than you would in normal life.
Yeah, and unlike some of the villains that have like they turn good and they have redeemable qualities, Chikina was always bad, like always like purely evil, like, and that's what I liked about her, because she's not one of those villains that turned good eventually in the later season. No, she was hell. If she was evil, she was staying evil. Like she had her mindset to just destroy the Rangers, and what she did. Like, remember when she with one flick of that staff that you had, you single-handedly took out all Rangers when you during your fight with Leo.
Well, yes, I know what you're talking about. I have had a lot of fans ask, and I mean, I do know that what's her name, Carone, went from being astronomer to a good guy. I'm not sure which other ones did, but I know it's kind of a common theme, and people like that. They like to see redemption and that kind of stuff. But I've had a lot of fans ask me about that, actually. Like, do I want to do that? And I don't know. It's so weird to me, like, to think about. I can't even imagine Shakina becoming a good guy. That it's actually weird. So yeah, they always say, "Oh, would you want your character to do that like the other one, like these did?" And I'm like, not really. I don't know. I don't know how to approach it. I mean, I guess I would have to get, read a story or read the script or whatever to get it. But it's so far fetched for me that it's hard to even imagine.
Well,
But
now for the part three of Journey's End, were you inside the green costume though for your third stage or no?
okay, so the green costume was custom made for me by this fantastic costume designer, Steve Wang. He's on Instagram, Steve Wang Creature Creator. He's still going strong, um, making some of the coolest costumes in movie history. He did a lot of, I think he did the alien costumes. He's created so many cool monsters. The days that I was there in his studio, which is adjacent to, it was at the time, adjacent, I don't know if he's still there, adjacent to where the sound stages were. Um, so you go up there and you walk through, and all these previous, it's like costumes or of monsters. They're not a costume; they're just actually a fake, like a fake monster that they've used in movies. The alien ones, Batman costumes, like so many things that are recognizable. You know what I mean? And I'm walking in this building, and they're literally lining the hallways with these amazing things that I recognize from movies. And I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And then I ended up having to spend 2 whole days up there for them to make a cast of my body out of plaster, and one for the costume because it was just like from here down. But I was encased, standing up, encased in a thing of plaster. Yeah, it takes it like 8 hours to dry. So just put a TV in front of me, and somebody would bring me like a drink with a straw and hold it for me every once in a while, Diet Coke or whatever I asked for. And it took a long time. But then after they made that mold, that's what they used to make to do all the detail, to build the costume around. Then another day I had to go back and do my head inside a mold. So it's like a box, and you're completely inside. It's like a hinged box, and you're completely inside plaster. They have to give you, like, they ask, are you claustrophobic at all? Because total darkness, you can't even hear very well because the plaster is so thick. And they put 2 little straws come out of your nose for you to get air, and that's it. But that was the second time to have a mold of my head made. I'd done it for another show that I worked on. So Roger Corman, there was a series that I had done before I booked Power Rangers called Black Scorpion.
Mhm.
And I played not a lead character. I played the sidekick to an evil, her name was Mindbender. And me and another girl were like twin Gigabyte and I don't know, like some computer names. And we had like these digital masks that were custom made for our faces. So I had to have one made for that maybe a couple years before. So I was like, oh, I've actually done this before. But that's what they made the head and everything for the green costume and the black one off of that. But so that costume was completely custom for me, but then I couldn't really move in it because it was such a thick material. Beautiful design. It just was difficult to run around and be very mobile and do the choreography that they would come up with, because I was supposed to wear that all the time. And then what happened was they made the black costume, and that kind of got sent to the side. And I had a stunt double, so I had two of the black costumes, one for me, one for her, exactly the same. But my stunt double was much smaller than me. She was about 5'3", and I'm 5'9". So kind of a big difference when you're talking about, our clothing or our costume. And so they ended up, because she was always the one in the green, they actually modified it. So about halfway through the series, probably at some point, they modified it. And so then even though it was made for me, like at that point, I don't even know if I would have fit in it anymore because they shortened it for her. So at the end, I'm not even there, like, unless you see my face. So a lot of what happened in the last final journey or journey's end, whatever, I'm not even there. And somebody sent a picture the other day of, I can't remember, it was like the green bug form getting held by by Kendricks and Maya and their costumes. And I was like, I don't remember this at all, but that's why, because they shot it without me. She was there. My stunt double was there.
I have a picture of the insect form of Drakina. Did you want to see it?
Sure.
Okay, here it
Let me
is.
see if I.
This was the third form. Oops, sorry.
Yes. Right. So I'm pretty sure that's her in there. And I don't know where they did the adjustments on the costume, but they somehow like took some inches out of the legs and out of the torso to make it more mobile for my stunt double. So that's guaranteed her at the end, because after they cut it apart, I never had to wear it anymore. I don't think I could fit. I think it would be too short.
Oh, okay. And I remember that episode. Like, well, it was you still providing the voice of the of
Well,
Trakina,
yeah,
right? And
I would come in and do after the looping after the episode is finished. That's what makes it seem like still me.
the third form was like the vicious of them all. Like, I mean, she singly manhandled all three. I mean, not all three, but all Rangers
Yeah.
in battle. And I remember when she said it was during that epic battle with Leo once again, in the before, like, it was the one-on-one battle where you said, maybe I won't zap you, maybe I'll just eat you. Like that, I just remember how vicious like she was in her third form.
Yeah, definitely. And that's again, it's credit to the writers, because they kept making these clear levels of, like, getting more and more kind of outrageous. And like they didn't just unleash it all at once. They saved some to the end. So that's again a credit to them. They did a great job, I think.
Did you have a favorite Shakina line? Because there's so many great ones.
Well, honestly, I don't even remember all of them. But everyone always asks me to do the "Hello, I'm evil, I lied." I thought that was funny at the time, but it is kind of the most requested thing that I get from in-person meetings when I meet fans and stuff. So I don't want to say it's not my favorite, but it's like I've heard it a lot. Um, but yeah, like you're bringing up some really good ones, that are maybe I had forgotten about. So I need to do a review before I can answer that question in good faith. But yeah, there's some good zingers. She had some good zingers. They
Yeah,
did a good job writing for Trakina, I think. So
but that's what made her, like, being a bad guy cool. Like, she had so many, quick wits, and she had a great backstory. Like, now that you took out her father, she's hell bent on now, has a purpose to actually destroy not just world domination and take over Terra Venture, but destroying everything in sight in her second form. Like, you nearly took over Terra Venture in part two.
yeah. And that's another thing that's really cool, that the episodes were at the end, that it was a build-up, that they had to divide into 3 episodes. That was kind of cool, because, and it's not typical, I don't think of it like a Saturday morning children's programming to have like an episode that involved, that it takes a 3-part ending, So that's kind of cool too, that they did that. Again, I think that's why Lost Galaxy is a fan favorite for overall season. All those.
Now, how did you feel? Because there were so many, like, I believe there was like 3. How do you feel about crossover episodes? Because you were a part of 3 of them. You were part of To the 10th Power, Last Ranger, and it was the one where Corone fights herself as Ashanima.
Oh, right. I like them. I didn't understand at first. I think Power of 10 was the first one that I was involved in, and I didn't understand really what it was about. It was fun having all the other Rangers and stuff on set. You know what I mean? That makes it's like getting a substitute teacher for the day or something in school. It's like different than normal, and the whole week is like that. And so we had a lot of fun. But I get now like what a marketing rocket those episodes are. So I mean, it's just part of it's really smart on the franchise's part to do that. But yeah, I didn't really understand. That's why I don't know why they don't do an evil team up,
They should,
like a villain
like,
team.
forever villains.
You know, like what is the Forever Red and all that kind of stuff. Like, why don't they do one that multiple villains collaborating for to get whoever the current cast, and maybe even like a few years ago when they did, what was that one? What's the one called where they shot in New Zealand?
The Legacy one.
Yeah, where everybody was in it, literally like 50 Rangers.
I
Like,
remember that.
why don't they have like a lot of villains, like maybe 5 villains get together and do a team up of villains? And you could also have a team up of Rangers too, but if there's so many good guys, you're going to need some extra bad guys.
Yeah, like I would love to see Trakina team up with Rancic and and the actual Trakina teaming up with Vipra, like in Lightspeed Rescue.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like that would be really cool. That's something that I've actually heard from fans for many, many years now. And I actually wonder, because I know they're very smart how they market these, or how they do those. So not only are people glad to see the old characters come back from a previous season, but they just, I don't know, it's just very popular to do that. And so that's why they do it repeatedly over and over. And I think it would be a wise business decision as well as fun for the actors to shoot. So I don't know. Maybe one day it'll happen. I've originally got that idea or that whole concept from fans.
And I'd love to see it forever evil or forever villain. That would be so cool. And
Exactly. Who would get to be the captain? How would it work? Like, how would we have to flip a coin, or we'd have to somebody gets killed right away, and then that person, like talking back, somebody kills them instantly, and it's like, okay, now we're down to 4. So obviously she's going to be the villain, because the lead villain, because she just killed somebody for no reason. I don't know. It'd be really fun to see how that was written.
that would be so
I would
cool.
like to.
Like, and also in Journey's End, when you destroyed the two Megazords, can I just say, like, back then I was very invested in watching the show. Like, I would tune in every weekend on Saturday mornings, and also on the weekdays after school, because Fox Kids would always run Power Rangers.
Right.
I remember when you destroyed the two Megazords. You seen the movie Back to the Future too?
Yes.
You remember when Marty McFly found out that I'm trying to think, Biff married his mother, and he
Yes.
let out that big no? That was me. That was me. Like, when you destroyed the Megazord, I let out like a big no. Like, I was so invested. I was so invested. Like,
That's so funny. No.
I was like, and there's nobody to hold me back. Like, I'm sorry.
Everybody's favorite are the Megazords, when they all get together and team up and defeat the bad guys. That's so funny.
Because you actually, like, destroyed Megazords. Nobody has ever done that. Yeah, Divatox destroyed their command center, but you took out 2 Megazords.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, thanks for pointing
Super.
that out. I never think about these things. I'm glad to know that's on my resume as a bad guy.
That's on your resume, and nearly conquering Terra Venture is another one.
Yeah. So, I mean, Trakina's got some good stuff on there, but yeah, like, I wouldn't even think about some of that stuff if you hadn't brought it up. So
She's a master of disguise too, Tracy Turner. Like, I mean, I mean, the real question is what Trakina can't do. That's the thing.
I don't know. She can't behave. She's never she can't conform. She never does that. So she's always sticking to her bad guns, and staying evil. So I guess the one thing I can't do is turn good so far. But yeah, I don't know. Like, that's a cool element that they put in the story as well. And I think I liked it because I didn't have to be in makeup for 2.5 hours before shooting. You know, that whole week it was like so easy. But it also made a really fun. It was really fun how they did that for the character. So how she was a master of disguise.
When in part three, when you came back in the monster form, as a 9-year-old watching this at the time, I was thinking to myself, like when I saw you emerge from the wreckage in your monster form, I was thinking to myself, what what does it take to stop her?
Well,
Trakina will not go down.
I have no idea, but yeah, definitely something they would have to write it in. And they just, I mean, they finally did. I don't know what it was at the very end, but they did. Trakina got all the way destroyed, right? I mean, at the very end, something stopped me. I'm moving over here because it's so dark on my patio right now. I felt like
Oh,
my little square up there was very dark. So I'm moving to a brighter area because it's getting dark
now,
here.
now, would you say, Amy, that because I think that it's a great analogy, like that Chikina is very similar to one of my favorite Disney villains of all time, Jafar. And I say that because Jafar started off as just an evil Grand Vizier. In this case, Chikina was an evil like princess to Scorpius, who should have taken over his empire. Then when she formed to the second stage with Deviat, it was kind of equivalent of like Jafar when he became the most powerful sorcerer in the world. And then in your third form, when you were the total monster, and then Jafar became a genie. That's like the one thing you guys had in common was that you guys had pretty much like you were impervious to pain, and then you pretty much had like phenomenal cosmic powers.
Well, I've never ever heard that analogy. So thanks for pointing that out. And I have never watched. Well, I have watched it one time, the entire movie. Um, that's Aladdin, right? With Jafar.
Yes.
I've never watched the whole thing. Strange because I have a daughter named Jasmine, but
How was
I
she?
watched it before she was born. With a friend of mine had a little boy, and I was babysitting him while she was out doing something, and it was a VHS back in those days. But I remember thinking I'd already chosen the name Jasmine for my daughter, who wasn't born yet. And when I saw the movie, I was like, oh no, everybody's going to name their kid Jasmine now because the star of the show is Jasmine, you know. But that's the only time I've watched the whole movie front to back. And it was like 1993 or something. I mean, she was born in 94, so it was before she was born. So I don't even remember all those things about. I was probably getting juice boxes and snacks for a 2-year-old, and all those kind of things. I was also watching the movie, but that's actually the first time anybody's ever. And there's a lot of comparisons, especially from the fans, to villains from Disney, to villains from Marvel comics, just different things like that. So there's lots of comparisons and analogies, but I've never heard that one. But I like it.
And also because like I get like because Jafar was just very like Trakina is very quick wit. I'll give an example. Like I could see Trakina like sending a scorpion out on the Rangers and saying this scorpion should make my point, and something something quick wit like one of the Rangers would say, "Are you afraid to fight me yourself, you cowardly snake?" And then Trakina would be like, "Oh, snake am I? Perhaps you like to see how snake-like I can be," and that would be when she forms into her third form, which
Right.
is
Kind of like a snake. Yeah.
yeah. And it's just like the Lost Galaxy I love though. Like 1999, two shows were very big back then. Simpsons and Power Rangers for me. Like those were my two favorite shows growing up watching.
Right. And you still watch The Simpsons, right?
Yes,
Yeah. And
I love it.
I mean, they're both still on.
Yeah. Never
I mean,
ending franchise.
kind of crazy to say, right? Like, what kind of that's not very common for any show to have that much longevity. I mean, Simpsons is different, but it's the same cast or whatever. But um, the fact that Power Rangers is still, 26 seasons in or whatever, and the fact that I don't even know how many seasons The Simpsons are on now. 30,
Uh,
probably.
32.
32. Oh my gosh. Just amazing. And that those are two of your favorite shows. Isn't
Yep.
that crazy? That in 2020, they're both still going strong.
Uh,
Nobody's heard like this is the last season or anything for either one of those. Thank goodness. I hope they don't.
and and there is a connection like between like for me for Power Rangers and Simpsons because you actually worked with one of the recurring members of the show, the late great Phil Hartman, but you worked with his wife like on Third Rock from the Sun.
I did. Yes, I did with Bree. Isn't her name Bree? Her name was Bree.
Right. Yeah.
I
Uh,
worked with her just, it was the episode that I did, that she and I did together. And that was before I did Power Rangers. That was before. I can't remember the year, but it was a couple years before I did Power Rangers, like maybe 3 years before. And I want to say it was like 96 or 7 when that was. And we did it was kind of a big deal. The episode was the Super Bowl and then the supermodel episode, and they made those. They made a. I actually just saw it, part of it, not the whole thing. I saw part of it the other night. I was just flipping through the channels before I went to bed, and I was like, "Hey, I think this is it." And I never really watched that show either, but I have seen that episode, and it actually turned out really good. So, and Bree's in it a lot, and I'm in it a lot, but it was cool because they had a lot of supermodels in that. And first of all, just to get chosen in a city like LA that's full of people that could be cast as supermodels was cool. And secondly, I don't remember what the whole element of the Super Bowl was, but there was a lot of that involved too. So it was fun. It was a cool episode, and it was a really big show at the time too. So it was a great uh, gig to get booked on. But that's kind of one of those reasons that I actually decided to do Power Rangers is because I was tired of just, you work for a week and then you're done. And it's like, okay, now what? Or you work for 3 weeks or 4 weeks on a movie or something like that, and then you're done. And you're like unemployed again, and you're trying to get another job, which is also fun because it's always different and all that, but it's, kind of hard to plan and your life and stuff. So that's one of the reasons I actually took Power Rangers was after they offered it to me, because I wanted to just kind of know what I was going to be doing for a while and be able to not slow down, but just know, like, to have some kind of routine. So that's why one of the reasons I did it. Not that doing those jobs isn't great, but and great memories, have great memories and a lot of fun experiences from them. But it's very tiring to just constantly have to be searching for your next job. And even when I did Power Rangers, there was a period when they entered into the Lost Galaxy that lasted about 6 weeks, and I was on hiatus during that time. I wasn't in the Lost Galaxy, so that's when Captain Mutiny and all that was happening. So I was able to audition for other shows and stuff like that during that time, because it was kind of toward the end. And eventually I was going to become unemployed again after the show ended. But yeah, that's one of the reasons, even though like that show was awesome and that show was great and it was like a great booking for me and just I was excited to do it. Um, it's over in a week. It's like, okay, now I need another job. So that's one of the reasons I was like, okay, a year, I'm going to be on Power Rangers for a year. Cool. I'll do that gladly.
I see. Like, are there any funny or like cool stories you have behind the scenes, like filming on the set though, like of Lost Galaxy?
On Lost Galaxy, um, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I mean, like I typically worked with the stunt men, which are the guys that are in the Power Ranger costumes when they're dressed as Power Rangers, not as the characters, and also the guys that are inside the monsters. So I those guys are all Japanese. They all speak Japanese to each other all the time. They're very tight knit. They all live together at the time. I don't know if they do. They might have different stuntmen now. I think they still have some of the same ones. I don't know if they're the main stuntmen anymore, but they still work on the job on the show. And so it was not very like communal like that for me with the day to day of the actors, because I mean it's very different. You know what I mean? When you're working with like 8 guys that are all speaking Japanese, and you know you're not just going to go over and hang out with them. So even when, and I've told you, I think I've told you this before, when I would do my lines with a character on the show, like let's say it was Kegler, for instance, I'm doing, like you just mentioned, 2 of the scenes where I destroyed Villamax, and then, or Villamax, for instance. So whenever I'm talking to Villamax, my dogs just scared me, or whenever I'm talking to Kegler, they're delivering their lines to me in Japanese.
Oh.
So in real life, that's how it's going. So I'm saying my lines to this character, this person in the costume, but when they, for timing reasons, they would do the lines. They would actually say the lines. I think that's what they were saying anyway. And they would say the lines, but they were in Japanese. And so then the voice of Villamax or the voice of Kegler or whoever, Deviot, those didn't get changed to American until English, until the dubbing part in post-production. So very different than what it looks like when you see it.
Now when they do the Megazord battle with any monster that you grew to size, like was that filmed in America, or was that filmed in Japan?
I think all that was always Japanese footage. Every episode had, if you pay attention, you can see, I never paid attention until I did the show, but now I can always see there's always one little section of footage on every episode that looks different, and it's from the Japanese show. So they were ahead of us, I guess, in filming, and so that's why we would always take that one little, and that is part of the Japanese footage every week, if I'm not mistaken. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
never witnessed that or saw that. It was always just, it's done with editing.
Well, what about your ship though? Like, cause the exterior, they show like the exterior of the ship. Is that computer generated?
Yes, the exterior is computer generated, which I have to say I think was done to a very high standard. And the interior of the scorpion stinger, that's all real. That's all real. Like, remember the stalagmites and the stalactites that were
Yeah.
coming, and they had smoke coming out of them, and that's all dry ice that they would pour water on to make them smoke every time. And the, you know, the actual real things that were in there, I had like a kind of a throne or whatever in the scorpion stinger, and there was like a control panel, things like that. But those are all real. But in the stuff that's inside Terra Venture, of course, is also a CGI thing. But then the stuff that's inside, like where the Rangers lived, and the hallways, the stuff that's very Star Trek like, that stuff was all real hallways, real dormitory type living or whatever. The restaurant where I can't remember the name of it, where I tried to poison Mike, that's a real restaurant. All that was real. Where Bulk and Skull were serving us, that was
Oh, I,
that. So and very cool the way it's like a little town in the sound stages, how they have it all designed.
very cool. And like did you have a least favorite episode you did?
Um, no, not really. Not really like an episode that was a least favorite, but I did have. I mean, there was a lot of hard moments, like shooting, because it was very. I mean, it's hard now to think about it. It's like you don't think about that stuff once it's over, but it was very uncomfortable shooting the show. It was, like I said, it was very cold. It was very hot at times, and I had like this messed up tan for like 2 years after it was over. It's getting so dark here. I'm really sorry. We might have to cut this
Sure.
short pretty soon.
Sure.
But yeah, that I would say probably my least favorite episode was I had a little conflict uh, with with them because they wanted to put some pyro inside, like on my person, on me, on my costume. And then they're
Oh,
like, yeah, but the pyro's gonna, they'll hit you with the sword during the fight scene and it's gonna go away from your face. And I just, those are like famous last words. You might have the best intentions, but it might not go the way they planned it. So kind of had a little, they had my stunt double did it for me, but yeah, it was kind of awkward to have to challenge the directing team or whoever was directing that episode, and also the pyro people or whatever, because then it's like you're saying that they can't do their job. So that's awkward. And then there was another, they wanted me to sign a waiver, and where I fight Corone up on the cliff. And that one, it was pretty dangerous in real life, and I didn't do what they asked me to do because I thought it was too dangerous. So I
oh,
refused to. So not that it wouldn't have made a great scene, totally agree, but the thing that they were asking me to hang off of was literally like, I don't know, 50 feet in the air or more, and it was a cliff. I was just like, this could go wrong. You know what I mean? I have a child. So it's not worth it to me to make a great Power Rangers movie and then end up paralyzed or something. So yeah, there was a couple of times where I didn't feel like completely trusting the director, but
Amy, I do have one last question before we conclude,
sure.
though, and that is, what was your thoughts on the Lightspeed Rescue? I mean, I like fans know it wasn't the real Shakina that appeared in that episode of Lightspeed Rescue, but I want to get your opinion on that episode and the actress that portrayed you.
Well, I know nothing about the actress that portrayed me, except I will say this: I'm looking for my light switch for my tree out here, so maybe could cast a little more light as we finish our interview up.
Sure.
Um, yeah, there it is. Hang on, it's gonna get dark for a sec, and then I'm gonna turn this tree light on. Give me a second here.
Not a problem.
It got dark really fast. Okay, so down, 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 down. Okay, I think that's it. Tree light. Spotlight, no. Tree light. Yes. I got some light on the situation now. I just have to move closer. Okay, so um, the day that happened, I remember being on, you know, having to make the decision if I was going to stay or going to go. My agent had said, look, they're not going to pay you anymore, because that's what I said. We're shooting two things. I want to be paid more. And my agent said, I talked to them. They're not going to pay you more. If you want, you can go. And so I end up leaving. And it's funny because I told you the sound stage is about an hour away. So I was in the car driving, and Reggie was he was somewhere at the sound stage. Like, he wasn't with me, but he was somewhere else, which is a pretty big place. And so I remember telling him, I called him and I said, yeah, good luck finding, another person to play Trakina or whatever. I didn't say that to the actual people, but I told him that. And then he called me maybe 20 minutes later. I was still in the car. I wasn't even home yet. And he said, oh my God, I just walked through the lobby and there's literally 50 girls in there that look exactly like you. So it didn't take him very long to get some people up there, even though it's a far drive. So I don't know. I mean, I've literally had people come up to me, 20 years later and say, oh, I didn't even know that wasn't you. So I don't know. And then I've had also little kids from the very beginning say, I know that's not you. That, when you have the thing over your mouth. So, I mean, I thought it was a creative way of handling like a weird situation. But I don't know. I don't know anything else, and I know nothing about the actual actress. But it was just kind of funny how quickly that's Hollywood for you. How quickly everyone's standing by, waiting to get, perfect. This is my chance. So something happens, whatever, contract negotiation breakdown, and then there's 50 girls that are like me. So it's kind of a little microcosm of how Hollywood works in general. But yeah, it was. That's all I know about. And I don't even remember. I did read the script, but I only shot for one day, and then I left. So I don't know. I don't remember the whole thing.
Oh, okay. And before we conclude, Amy, first thing, did you want to take that a selfie on like right now? Like,
Yeah. Is it too dark here? I don't know.
no, it's perfect. The light actually is good.
Okay, great.
Uh,
Barely see, but I trust you. So let's do
are you
a split screen of us.
okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Got one. Now, because this is an open forum, though, you're free to say anything, promote anything, endorse anything you want. Now is the time you could do it. So you have the floor right now, Amy.
I have a T-shirt like the one you have on, a Trakina for President T-shirt that we're gonna select. One lucky fan is gonna get this. So I'm not sure because you're recording it and then posting it later. So I'm not sure how we're gonna rank.
Amy, I'll send you a copy of the file of the interview, so that way you have access to it.
And so we'll decide after. Are you going to post it today or like tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have it all done tonight.
We'll decide. We'll decide tomorrow or something who the one lucky winner is going to be of this Trakina for President T-shirt, and I'll get their information somehow and send it to them. But yeah, that'll be like whoever's been supporting your Petey's Awesome interviews, and it's going to be somebody from that group of people that's been watching all of your episodes.
Okay, and before we go, I just want to extend my congratulations because you mentioned Jasmine earlier. I wanted to give you a congratulations on your daughter's recent wedding, like marriage. I'm very happy for you guys.
Thank you. Yes, and she's actually here visiting right now with her new husband, so I love it. I've got to have him in town for a couple weeks, but yes, we're thrilled.
And also, Amy, I just want to say thank you for not only coming on, but I want to thank you personally for those memories you gave me in 1999, like every single morning, Saturday morning and weekday, watching Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Yes, you did scare the holy shit out of me when I was younger, but you know what? Those are memories that last forever. And because I always was a fan, even if I was scared of her, I was always a fan of Trakina, growing up. And I'm proud and honored to have you on. But most importantly, though, I'm very proud to call you my friend.
Thank you. I feel the same way, Petey. Thank you for being a fan of the show and a fan of Trakina. And how cool is it that all these years later we have become friends? So thanks for having me on tonight. I really.
And Amy, I waited 20 years for something like this. It's an awesome dream for me to have this interview with you.
Awesome. Well, I'm flattered that I could get to come on your show, and some of the questions that you've been thinking of from way back when. And I'm just glad, and I'm glad that your show's been doing so good. So
thank you.
I'm excited to get to be a part of it.
Absolutely. I'm so honored. I'm so honored to have you on. I'm so honored to call you my friend. And I promise you, I will send you a copy of this interview. So that way you have access to it.
All right, perfect. And I'll probably post it too, if I can. I don't know exactly how to do that, but we'll figure it out. I might have to ask you some questions on the side.
Not a problem. I'd be happy to help.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on. You have an awesome night.
Have a good night. See you soon.
You too.